Hi, thanks for joining me today for an insights video where we just take a verse or two out of the Bible and I just share some insights on it as to, what it speaks to me and maybe some lessons that I've learned from it. Well, today I have a really great story that I have shared for years and it's always stuck with me, although I can't remember who I heard it from. I believe it was a male speaker who speaks all over the country, probably an author, and he was speaking at a women's event, I believe is what it is. So if when I start telling the story, if you know whose story this is, please let me know so I can give him credit because it's a very powerful story for a very simple little verse that comes out of Romans. So with that, let's go ahead and the verse is out of Romans 14 and it's not even the full verse. It's just the very first, like if you would, like when the verses have A and B's, this is just Romans 14 verse 1a. And it reads, "Except anyone who is weak in the faith." Now, someone that's weak in the faith can be anyone from, say, a new believer to maybe someone that's been a believer for a while, but they haven't really done a lot of, seeking in the Word. They have still a lot to learn. Maybe they're learning a little bit slower. But this story is about a woman who was weak in the faith just because she was a new Christian. So as the man relates the story, he was asked to speak at this event in Arizona, I believe it was. And when he got there, the women that were running the event had a new Christian that they asked him if maybe she could get up and speak because she was really just so in love with Jesus at this point. And this speaker was fine with yielding a bit of his time to give this new Christian some time at the podium. So anyway, this woman gets up there and oh, she is singing Jesus's praises and you can tell that she just loves Jesus so much. But while she's singing his praises, she starts cussing up a storm. She doesn't know any better. So can you hear the collective gasp of the little old church ladies who were in that audience, which I may have been before this circumstance. I may have been considered one of those ladies and totally horrified. But anyway, she used some very colorful language sharing her love for Jesus. I think she dropped a few F-bombs. I think she used a few words that are translated such as this when they're written. A lot of her speech would have been censored by a lot of people. And you could hear the people that had asked this man to yield time to this woman at the podium were like, oops. They were totally horrified. So they were telling him, oh my gosh, we've got to get her off the stage and we've just got to stop this and we've just got to get her off. And the man with a smile, he was like, no, no, he says, let her continue to speak. His attitude was, here was a new woman or a new Christian woman. She had just accepted Jesus and she was expressing her love and her gratitude and her appreciation for Jesus really in the only way she knew how at that point. It was colorful, it was breathtaking, and I'm sure that Jesus was smiling, and that speaker realized that as well. So after she got off there, everybody was horrified and everything, but the speaker was just fine with it. So he got on and he did his speech and, his talk and everything. Well, as fate would have it, a year later, he was back in the same place. And the same woman that had gotten up there and cussed like a sailor in front of the audience came up to him and was apologizing profusely. She was telling him, she says, oh my gosh, I am so sorry that I did what I did last year. She said, I was so new to the faith, I didn't realize that cussing wasn't a very good way for Christians to express themselves. And this man was so gracious towards her. He said, his sentiments to her were, that was totally fine. The love of Jesus that you were sharing with people that day totally outweighed the language that you used. And he was positive that Jesus was smiling down on her because her love for him, she just expressed it in a way that not all Christians, and some Christians do, that Christians don't tend to express themselves. So I love the grace that this man showered on this new Christian, allowing her to express herself, as the best that she was able to, and he didn't chastise her for it. How many people that are new in the faith I wonder over the years have maybe I maybe turned off or not shown the love of Christ because I've expected their faith to look like mine, who is, my faith that's several decades old. How many parents have expected their children who are maybe, teenagers or whatever? How many of us have expected our children, our children, to show and act with the faith and display the faith and act like the Christian of a middle-aged person? It's just not going to happen, nor should it. Everyone has their own route that they need to travel when they start their journey as a Christian. And yes, is it good to guide people when we see them? Yes. But is it okay sometimes if we just let the ungraceful parts kind of slide and let them learn on their own? Learn from the greatest teacher, Jesus, who can teach them those things? He can teach them. We don't always have to say. Now, if we're a mentor, of course. If we're a Bible study teacher, yes. If they ask us, yes. But if they are displaying the pure love of Jesus and it comes in a way that maybe we wouldn't do it, or maybe a seasoned Christian wouldn't do it, or maybe just in a way that's different because they have a different personality, it's really not our place, nor should we squelch that love and that excitement for it when that's truly what it is. So I love this because this woman, even though she got up and she cussed up a storm for Jesus, look what happened in that year after that event. Jesus is the one who can calm the storm. Jesus came in and calmed the storm. That was that woman's language, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. So let's remember that lesson. And there's one other verse that comes out of 1 Corinthians 8:1, and I think this has really been good for me because I've been arrogant in the past with my knowledge of the Bible. And so this one's a good one. It speaks to me. Maybe it'll speak to you as well. But 1 Corinthians 8:1 says, "Knowledge inflates with pride, and love builds up." That man who spoke on the podium that day that yielded time to this woman with a mouth like a sailor, the proverbial saying, cussing like a sailor, he yielded time to her. He could have gone all arrogant and he could have gone all spiritual and all self-righteous on her, but he didn't. He chose to set aside the pride and to build her up in the love. And she got it. Later on, she was probably a bit more of a refined Christian, but when you think about it, how many of us are totally refined like Jesus expects us to? He just wants us to come as we are, and maybe we as Christians need to be willing to accept other Christians as they are, to come to Jesus and to come to us and to learn as Jesus would have them learn and teach them over the course of their Christian journey. So that's it for this Insights video. Thanks for joining me, and I hope this spoke to you and maybe taught you something. I know this subject and that little story really taught me a lot when I first heard it. So thanks, and I hope to see you next time.